Something happened.
Oh, look at there. There you are on the old YouTube Live.
Travesty. Well, hell,
Here we go.
send a message out. See if we can maybe get someone to dive on there so we can at least make sure that it's working. I can see current viewers, I think,
I'm watching it.
chat rate. So
Turn that off for a minute.
so are you the viewer?
I am the viewer. Give it a few minutes.
Are you also recording audio at this time?
I am not, but I will now.
Yeah.
All right. So the world's got a good view of Matt over there playing with his phone.
Better
Excellent.
playing with my nose.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You should do that.
You didn't
too.
think I was going to say that, did you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Someone jumped on there.
I bet that was
Oh, it's
Jack.
Mr. Mustache himself. The one, the only. You know, you keep that up, and here in 10 or 30 years, we'll make one lone bronze mustache in honor.
Yes. Look at that. There's somebody on there. We can chat. So let's get the technicalities out of the way right quick.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, let's throw that out there. And
I'm wondering if you ought to try and send a message to, God, what's his name? Sullivan, down in Robinson. This does, because he's trying to get his organization lined out.
well, I'll just send it. I'll send it there. I'll send it to.
I'm going to grab that department south of us and that chief we've been working with down there.
Yeah, throw it out there.
Christ, I can't remember his name.
Mm-hmm. I don't have a clue.
Oh yeah. Thank you, Case. We do appreciate that.
Excellent, excellent. So while we're getting this thing kind of rolling just a little bit, we've got a conversation for the day. It'll probably be relatively short, and this is kind of an in the middle deal because it's coming out live, and we'll expand on this later in a future episode, audio episode. But we want to kind of start working on the old live stream stuff to get this working the way it's supposed to work. and the only way to do it's to do it, right, Matt?
Yeah, theoretically.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll see.
We'll see how this goes. But as always, you can reach out to us at ittastslikeBurningcast@gmail.com. I'm still in Matt's thunder right quick. You gotta, yeah, there you go. Gotta mute something there. Questions, concerns, comments, litigations, conjectures, all that, just throw it our way. Definitely hit us in the chat on this live stream. Matt's over there trying to do 7 things. I'm over here trying to do 7 things. So it's fun. As always, we've got our X or Twitter. It Tastes Like Burning Cast.
Speaking of that, you should send it out on there.
Yeah,
so
I can do that.
I'll take over and continue to ramble mindlessly. And you know what sucks is that I lost it's logged me into the thing, but I've lost oh, there it is. I'm stupid. It's so hard. Okay, there it is. Warning. I have a warning. I don't know why I have a warning.
For what?
I can't read it because everything's minimized. Anyways, yeah, we're trying to ultimately get set up here for the long run. Coming into our state convention, June 27th through, I think, the 30th, down in San Marcos. Jesse and myself will be down there as guest speakers, and then Lowell, he'll be down there. Be down there for, not might, will be down there for his segment. I think we'll bring him on and have him specifically be able to just kind of go forward. We're going to sit here and wait just a few more minutes, 2, 3, 4 more minutes, and then we'll get started on what we're going to talk about today. And today's going to be this really kind of crazy thing that I stumbled into on the NVFC forums, and it's specifically about OSHA. And I know everyone's like, oh, don't click off yet, because it's actually really important, and we're not going to talk 12 hours about it. But it's something to start putting on people's radars.
Yeah, so it's one of those things where there's some new rules proposed, and I know most everybody doesn't know anything about the Federal Registry and publications of rules and how any of that works, and unless you're like really into the 2A stuff, where it happens all the time, and those guys are really good at it, you probably don't know a thing in the world about how to comment or read any of this stuff or find it. But when there's a new set of regulations or rules by any federal agency, that stuff gets put into the Federal Registry, and then there's a comment period of 90 days after that. So these rules that we're going to talk about are in that comment period. It's really up to you. I would say if you like it or don't like it or whatever you think, get on there and comment about it. That just helps kind of shape everything going forward. That agency is required to look at those comments and decide if ultimately if a regulation is too financially burdensome, that it would be a detriment to who is being regulated, right?
Right.
So it costs too much money for it to be implemented, and whoever it's being implemented on be able to financially survive it, then those rules kind of have to be left out.
Now, the one thing I'm not going to be able to really do here is I'm not going to be able to look at chat evidently and have this up at the same time. So I'm going to have Jesse.
Yeah, I've got the chat on my phone.
Kind of help tackle that. I will tell you how to find the link to this document later. So what this is you had 9/11, and then a few years after 9/11, you had West Texas happen. And those are two big events here in the U.S. And OSHA went about kind of updating the fire, we're going to call it emergency response standard. The actual technical number is 29 CFR Part 1910. And in updating the standards, they haven't really been updated, from what I understand, since about 1980. So here's what you need to understand. This is a comprehensive overhaul of emergency response standards. It is all encompassing. And here's the kicker. It's not NFPA anymore. It's NFPA and OSHA tied together. The amount of information that they're updating is not limited to, but includes pertinent legal authority, and then scopes, state plans, questions in the summaries and explanations, additional issues, and then the actual summary explanation is hazardous waste and operations and response, respiratory protection, scope, application and definitions, emergency response, portable fire extinguishers, standpipe hose systems, automatic sprinkler systems, feasibility, analytics, and just on and on. Understand that this thing is all encompassing in all facets, from the personnel to the apparatus to the legislation to the requirements. It's everything fire department. PPE, hose, trucks, stations, emergency preparedness, SOPs, emergency response plans. It's everything.
And EMS.
Oh, yeah. No, the kicker is it's not just EMS. EMS, fire, search and rescue, wildland, technical rescue, all of it. It's all of it. And I'm going to switch over to Jesse and kind of let him prattle on. I'm not sure what I did there. There we go.
So just my brief reading of it, and trust me, reading federal regulations is like reading, I don't know, a 3,000-year-old book. It's hard to read, it's hard to follow, it's hard to understand what they're talking about. But one of the things that caught my interest in this is early on they talk about how, because states that have an OSHA plan, it's automatically going to apply to them, right? So there's many states like Texas, like us, that doesn't have an OSHA plan. So only private entities, businesses, fall under the OSHA stuff. So the construction companies and
Lockheed
people like,
and Bell Helicopter and Halliburton.
Yeah. And places like that fall under the OSHA. And there's been an exemption for government, municipalities, and basically volunteer organizations up until this point. And some of that stuff appears to me like it gets written out of the rules. Those exemptions and those exclusions are swallowed into now cities and counties and fire departments and ESDs and everybody that wasn't necessarily fallen into this.
Right. Well, one of the bigger aggravating things is that when you go through this, understand it's, if you go through this, it's upwards of like, well, the actual summary's 250 pages. The actual documents, probably closer to 600 pages if you include all the charts and graphs. Some of it's really interesting. It's actually really interesting. I would argue that a lot of this, in the grand scheme of things, is written for the greater good. I would also argue that some of this is not remotely feasible. Particularly the health and wellness section, where they're talking about trying to mandate a physical fitness NFPA standard 1582 to all volunteer fire departments. And I'll talk about like the cost of that here in a little bit, but you need to understand that as you go into the analytics of this document, and they do the cost breakdown and the fiscal analysis, the kicker with this is it's based off of the data that they only have off of the 24 states that have state OSHA plans. So the other 26 states that don't have state OSHA and are governed by federal OSHA, their data is not interpreted in the cost analysis. That's a problem because those are states like Pennsylvania, Ohio, Wisconsin, Minnesota, Florida, the Georgias, Carolinas, Texas. You know, these are huge states with huge volunteer population considered for what it would cost to actually try and do a nationwide NFPA 1582 yearly annual physical. I'm going to just kind of scroll just through a couple of things here. One of the big ones here is their health and wellness section. They have some great data on it. And there's some great stuff that they're focusing on trying to address there. But their health and wellness section is, I mean, truly gigantic. And the numbers that they're using are pretty staggering. And you consider that, for a lack of better words, it's only half of the country that they're getting data on. And you kind of get a pretty grim picture on what we're actually working with on that front. You'd be surprised when you look at the data. Big factors, I'm going to scroll up just for a second here. Things that I would argue are major safety concerns for firefighters in general is the classic heart attacks, overexertion, being struck, collisions, and then another really high average death rate is the physical response, people dying in fatal accidents. That's a huge one. In fact, it represents 42% of all deaths from 2007 to, let me look at the number real quick, 2007 to, I think, 21. So 42% was just accidents, physical accidents and responding down the road. Some of the NFPA standards that they're looking to adopt into this OSHA thing, just to really put people into understanding. There's 36. So you have standard structural fire qualifications, rescue, tactical rescue personnel standards, fire officer standards, standard for facility fire brigade members standards and qualifications. So your support membership. Wildland, RIT is addressed here, occupational medical, refurbishing, testing, and retirement of in-service vehicles in Marine, PPE for tactical rescue, surface water operations, more protective PPE for contaminated water, structural firefighting and proximity firefighting, more PPE, SCBA, PASS. So, rescue operations stuff, more rescue operational stuff, PPE and CBurn. Yeah, I mean, just on and on. I mean, like I said, I don't have to read all these to you because it'd take forever. But when I say that they plan on addressing everything in the fire service, top to bottom, this is everything. Here's the kicker, that one thing we haven't really talked about. So thanks and kudos to NVFC for coming out with their post. It was a guy in New Hampshire that made the initial post, and he just said, "Hey, check it out." And the forum kind of lit on fire and started reading through it, and they're in the review and cuss and discuss section right now. So we are T minus 90 days now. We're probably at 85 or 83 days on the review and comment period of this. And then they're going to talk about going possibly live. So there's quite a bit going on with it.
Yeah, so I tried to drop the link for that in the comments. I think it's down in there. We were up to 12 watching a while ago. We're sitting at 9 right now, so I'd say that's pretty good for an unannounced, non-standard. Here we go. Let's see if our pants do this. And so thank all of you who are on the live stream right now. And at the end of this will get turned into a video, and we'll leave it up there. But the other thing with the how encompassing this is, like Matt said, it's got everything down to age of equipment and PPE and all that. And as we know in the volunteer fire service, we do our best and we try really hard to be as good as we can to follow NFPA. But you know, if you're a small department out in the sticks and your annual budget's $5,000, it's really hard to expend the money to meet all of those things. And this is a huge cost to any department to be compliant. So you're kind of left with two choices, right? You can be non-compliant and just hope nothing ever happens, which is kind of what you're doing right now. But at least now there's civil penalties involved. So you got that to look forward to. And then the other thing you can do is work really hard and spend lots of money to do better. Excuse me just one second.
I went away. He's trying to make me come back.
There we go. Yeah. We lost Matt on the camera. Fell asleep. I don't know why it's fallen asleep today. Hasn't done that before, but today it decided to fall asleep.
If you can get the link to this, send it to that guy.
Okay, yeah, I can do that.
I'll take over while he's doing that because it's pretty spicy. But yeah, again, it's a cost thing. I mean, like I said, it's 250 pages, and let me just get to one slide here that talks about the physical cost, where they actually talk about what it's going to cost to do this for just the 24 states. It's $86 billion.
Yeah.
And even though California is the highest population state, I can guarantee you for a population perspective, California's got the lowest total volunteers for a population. Texas and Florida and Pennsylvania are going to own that.
Ohio, yeah.
Volunteers are huge in the Northeast and in the Rust Belt and in the South. I mean, Georgia, the Carolinas, Florida, those huge departments, and there's a lot of them out there. Texas has got a ton. We were talking about that earlier. And to me, this entire document, I would argue what I think needs to happen with it is and technically a lot of this is guideline stuff already from NFPA from a volunteer perspective. And I get what they're trying to do. They're trying to decrease firefighter deaths through exposure to cancer, reduce the number of accidents, make sure you're in safe apparatus, and on and on. But, I mean, you can't just go in with unfunded government mandates and expect everything to be all better in the middle of the night, because it just won't happen that way. And I don't know really what people are expecting in the long run as far as departments not being able to truly comply with this. I mean, just using their numbers and estimations for our department to have our physicals every year is in the ballpark of $70,000 a year. That's not feasible.
Yeah. And even with with the size of our department and our rather good budget, you're talking about a percent increase in budget to cover some of these costs, or as high as 100% of some departments' budgets to cover some of these costs. I want to thank Case. I made Case a moderator here just a second ago, so Case is helping us with the chat, which is excellent. He is not on site at the moment, so he got thrown into this inadvertently, but he's definitely been helping us. He has a little bit of knowledge in this aspect of live streaming, so
right.
Definitely a big thank you to Case.
If you guys have any questions, concerns, comments, issues, theories on what we're talking about with this OSHA stuff, don't hesitate to reach out to us. You can find us at our email at ittastelikeBurningCast@gmail.com. If you're not a member of NVFC, jump on the NVFC open forums, and you can find anywhere you can post on there. There's already an active link on this. I recommend that you put the time, energy, and effort into downloading a 250-page document. You don't need to read the whole thing. Just go down to the actual meat of it and truly understand at what potentially has the ability to affect you. And that's going to be in that Roman numeral 5, summary and explanation of the proposed rule. And really, if this is something that's just too expensive or not feasible for your organization, I highly encourage you to comment on the go to, it's not OSHA, where do they, Federal Register?
Federal Registry, and that's the link that I'm trying to get into the chat.
But again, I'm going to argue a lot of this is actually really good. I think it needs to be more guidelines than reality. I just don't see how a lot of small departments out there are going to be able to truly be able to afford it while they're trying to figure out how to upgrade their 1967, single cab Chevy.
That's also not compliant.
Right.
Because it's too old.
Yeah, or they don't have new gear. I mean,
yeah.
What the hell are you talking about? You're going to force medical requirements? The backside of this is anyone going to get in trouble if nothing happens? No. But is this even a higher likelihood that your chief's going to go to jail if something does? Yeah. But at least you have another avenue for suing the hell out of them in civil court.
Yeah.
So at least we got that.
Yeah, it's obviously non-compliance is always an option, because that's really the only option. I mean, are you going to turn around and not be a fire department because OSHA made it too hard? I don't think so. And I know in my heart of hearts what's going to happen here is you're going to just be non-compliant and hope for the best. And I hate that departments are going to be put into that scenario even harder than they already are. It's already pretty difficult to attract new members. It's already pretty difficult to grow your rosters and grow your departments, and you put something like this in place and it just compounds the difficulty of attracting new members and growing.
Yeah, and again, I mean, I've said this a lot since I've read through this thing, and I haven't written my personal synopsis of it yet, but God, some of these departments out there, it's already hard enough. You're putting a bullet and you're putting a spike in organizations that are already struggling, in communities that can't have a career or paid organization.
Well,
and you're just going to make it worse.
The career of the paid organizations also subject to this. So that cost doesn't go away just because it becomes career or volunteer. The cost of this is still there.
Yeah, and if you're jumping in late on this, understand one thing. like Texas, it is a state federal OSHA state. Okay. So, in other words, the state of Texas doesn't have an OSHA plan. Okay. You fall under federal guidelines. Well, federal guidelines exempt municipalities and local governments until now.
Yeah,
This
changes
pulls
that.
everyone into that. And there is some wiggle room for really small departments. There's some really fancy words in there, like true volunteer. One of the webinars that I watched is the presenter used the term Benjamin Franklin volunteer. Okay. So I guess if you're using a horse and a hose wagon,
and you're buying your own PPE, and
right,
you're putting the fuel in the truck, right?
Right.
It's to that level. Like if you're gaining anything at all, like there's workman's comp insurance, or there's any form of insurance that's seemingly protecting you from losing your livelihood.
Yeah.
For
So
this.
if you have a pension or a subsidy or a reimbursement or insurance or anything like that, you're not a true volunteer. Not according to these.
Yeah, I mean, possibly even to the point of if you get the T-shirt, right?
Could be.
The T-shirt could be the thing that's the remuneration that they talk about.
Yeah, it's pretty serious, and I mean, the fact of the matter is that I have a feeling this is being streamlined. I've seen some of the people and organizations that have come out in favor of this, and they are big. They have a lot of clout. They are important. Their opinions
Matter.
justified and matter, but I would argue it's one-sided.
Yeah,
and I feel like MVFC is, God, well, they are. They're by themselves.
Yeah,
and
it's so hard to come out against something that's truly safety oriented, right?
Right.
Yeah, the safety aspect of it makes some sense. It's the financial aspect of it that's nearly damning.
Right.
And it's hard to come out and say, yeah, we know that's safer and we know that's better for our members and for the public and for everyone else, but to come out against it and say we can't afford it is the right answer, right? You know, that's kind of the only true thing that stands in the way of a proposed rule and its implementation is that it's not financially viable for the people that are affected. And it may be for some. There's probably quite a few that are mostly doing all of this stuff, and it's not much to add. We kind of fall in that category where we're doing most of this stuff, but we're not doing it all, and the part that we're not doing is absolutely horrendously expensive.
Well, here's the aggravating part, is that we're trying to develop a health and wellness program right now. Why?
Because it's the right thing to do.
But why? If this happens, we're going to ultimately pull it because it's just going to make us more liable, because now we know, because we've looked into all this crap, and because we're online saying that we've looked into it, that we're better off not providing it.
Yeah.
It's not to make it political, but it's just like other government ideas. Sometimes legislation, when it's in place, is actually a lot more harmful than letting companies and businesses kind of figure it out. So instead of providing a guideline and saying, here's the stars, it's okay if you land on the moon, but going in and trying to physically mandate that you're going to do
XYZ.
And it's not XYZ. It's A through Z, double A, double Z, and you're into triple A. That's the problem. And it's just, God, the medical thing is such a disaster that I cannot begin to describe how bad this actually is. And just so people understand, like, the numbers, again, These are off of 24 states. We're talking about 21,256 organizations and 832,000 people. 65% of that number is volunteer. They don't have this yet.
Yeah.
The number is $84 billion a year.
Yeah. But luckily there's no AFG grant or Safer grant or anything that's going to pick up the tab for any of that. So it becomes an unfunded mandate.
And again, if you think you're in medical and you're exempt from this, nope.
Nope.
You're not. Technical rescue, nope. Wildland, nope. You work at some company, okay? Like we have some big, heavy industry in this area. And if you have a fire brigade, let's say at your big chemical plant,
yep,
you now fall under this.
Yep. Yeah. It's basically top to bottom, head to toe. Everybody is affected, and it is what it is. And most likely we're all going to have to deal with this moving forward. It's a really big ask to try to stop a federal agency from implementing a rule. It happens, and it's not set in stone, but the path to interject and give your opinion is this comment period we're in right now. And that comment period is going to go through March, April, May sometime.
It's 90 days.
It's 90 days from
February to
from
May.
A week ago or so. So, it's 3 months long. Do your research, jump in there, make your comments. I'm not telling you to comment against it or for it. I'm telling you to do your research, make your comments, be informed, and see where it goes, because it's truly a game changer for the nation.
Yeah, I don't think there's any way to stop it. I think it'd be better off for all the volunteers organizations banding together and particularly going after the big ticket items. Like, I mean, they're talking about fire suppression system in all stations.
Yeah.
On and on. Yeah, so I mean, there's, if anything, take the safety stuff and chalk that up to awesome, and then try and make the other stuff guidelines. The whole thing needs to be guidelines, not requirements.
Well, if your station's in an area where it's not served by a adequate municipal water supply, how in the world do you do that?
You don't.
It's unachievable at that point. But at least you're non-compliant, right? So
I talked to a department middle of last week that has an entire budget of $3,000 a year. Yeah. $3,000. I didn't know that was possible.
That's roughly the fuel for about 2 months for us.
If that.
Yeah.
Well, again, we could talk about this. I'm just trying to get some highlights on it. Like I said, if you have any questions, concerns, comments, by all means, reach out to us. Jump on MVFC and jump on the forums. If you have an opinion or reach out specifically to OSHA and maybe try and talk to someone, because I did. I called someone that was on the 14-person panel and talked to them. If you still have problems with it, definitely comment, not just comment, contact your local representative, state, Congress critter or Senate critter, but actually go to the comment and review page there for I already forgot it again.
Yeah, it's a federal registry.
Federal registry, and actually leave the comment there. I would argue the comment there is more important than do your Congress critter.
And I do see that the link's in there. It's in the chat. So hop down in that chat, find that link. We'll put it in the description, hopefully, on the video that posts for the long term. And don't hesitate to do that. Some of you know how that works. I will tell you it's a convoluted thing. Jump in there and do it. I've commented and given my thoughts and so forth on it to the Federal Registry, but I'm one guy, so there needs to, if it's something you feel strongly about, jump in there and do it.
Yeah, and I'm still going through and formatting and finalizing my pretty serious whatever bullet point
Dissertation.
Yeah,
Really what it is.
because it does the problem is I don't want to just post that I don't like this. I need to say this page, this paragraph, this is what's wrong, this is in my opinion how it needs to read, or these are the theoretical effects of what you're talking about, because I think that's going to be our best way to try and get any legitimate discussion, instead of just going in there and going, meh.
Yeah, I did that. Meh.
I want to try and at least throw a monkey wrench in it.
I think it takes both. So
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
I think it's a numbers deal. But definitely subscribe to the YouTube. We'll do more of these periodically with these live streams. This will end up as an audio podcast that'll hit the audio somewhere down the road. It may be an in between and not our normal bi-weekly deal. It may become an extra
Thing.
post, right?
I do know, take any time that you have to, I don't know, like, click, subscribe, hit things on this particular thing to make it awesome.
Yeah, hit that bell, because that bell is going to let you know we're doing something like this, because I can assure you it won't be planned.
Right.
It will not be scheduled. It'll be just this random thing like we did today, where we were like, I wonder if we can make this work. Evidently we did.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Yeah.
Two monkeys banging a coconut together make a live stream.
Yeah.
Pretty sad.
With that,
we'll give you the old, don't forget, if you ever want to reach out to us at ittastslikeBurningcast@gmail.com. This is Matt.
this is Jesse.
Have a good one.